Ma'am, this area is closed off. What? But my parents live here. Mommy, Grandma's right there, under the tree. What did you say, Ben? We need immediate support in this area. And it was in that moment that I understood everything was about to change. Welcome to the Velvet Vendetta channel. My name is Lucy Herrera. I'm 34 years old. I'm an operations manager at a multinational corporation, married to Santiago, and a mom to Ben. I spent the last 3 months on the other side of the world. Meetings, contracts, airports, inverted schedules. I slept late, woke up before dawn, but nothing exhausted me as much as the distance. My parents, Ernest and Teresa, were always my refuge. In the neighborhood, everyone knew them as a quiet, kind couple who lovingly tended to their garden. Mom would post pictures of her flowers on Facebook. Dad wrote book reviews. And then there was Renata, my younger sister. Talented but erratic. A freelance graphic designer full of ideas and debts. My parents always helped her, even if they didn't say it. At the airport, Santiago was waiting for me with a tired look on his face, but it was Ben who came running. Mommy! I knelt to hug him. He was taller. When he mentioned Grandpa and Grandma, my heart skipped a beat. We made pizza, and Grandpa told me a pirate story, and Grandma was a little tired. Once in the car, Santiago commented, "It's strange. They stopped answering their phones 2 weeks ago. Haven't posted anything either." Maybe they went on a trip, I tried to sound calm. Dad had been talking about it. But deep down, something felt wrong. The next day, I prepared their gifts. An artisanal tea set for my parents. A design book for Renata. Educational toys for Ben. "Are we going to Grandma's house today?" he asked excitedly. "Of course we are," I replied with a smile that was barely holding on. We set off for their town, Maple Creek. Grey clouds, soft music on the radio. Ben was playing a game of finding shapes in the clouds. "That one looks like a puppy." We laughed, but as we entered their neighborhood, the silence was the first thing that hit me. There were no kids playing, no cars driving by, not even a radio on. And then I turned the corner and saw them. 3 patrol cars in front of my parents' house. Yellow tape, the gate locked, not a single light on. My mom's greenhouse was empty. I slammed on the brakes, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. Ben stopped talking, and before I could react, I heard the back door open. He ran out and pointed to the back of the yard. "There's Grandma, Mommy, under the tree." "What did you say?" "She's over there. She's dirty, but she's smiling at me." One of the nearby officers heard him. He turned instantly, his face pale. A woman in a dark blazer approached with a firm stride, a badge hanging from her neck. "Mrs. Herrera, I'm Detective Camila Mendoza. We need to talk, now." She looked at Ben, then back at me. "Your son just said he saw his mother over there." The detective raised her hand to her radio. "Central, get the forensic team with ground-penetrating radar over here." Immediately, time stood still. The patrol cars, the yellow tape, the murmuring neighbors, everything moved in slow motion, except for the weight in my chest, which grew more unbearable with every second. Detective Camila Mendoza asked that Ben and I stay back while the experts arrived, but being far away offered no comfort. I knelt in front of my son. "Everything's going to be okay, Ben. Mommy's here." He just looked at me, serious. This wasn't the smiling boy who ran to me at the airport. Now he seemed to be processing something I couldn't even begin to understand. The detective returned a short while later with an expression she tried to keep neutral. "Mrs. Herrera, I need to explain a few things calmly. Can you come with me?" We walked to her patrol car. She opened the back door gently. "Your parents have been officially missing for 3 weeks. We received a report from a neighbor. Mail piling up, a strange smell. When officers entered, they found some disturbing things." "Things? Like what?" "Their cell phones were there, Wallets, passports, documents, everything, but no trace of them. And the strangest part, their social media accounts were still active. But I talked to my mom. She liked one of my photos, commented that she'd planted new flowers. We know, we're looking into it. Everything indicates that someone with access to their accounts wanted to maintain an appearance of normality, probably to cover up the disappearance. My stomach churned. This doesn't make any sense. My mom was meticulous, and so was my dad. They wouldn't just leave like this. And your sister? Have you had recent contact with Renata? No, not since I got back. I tried calling her, but her phone goes straight to voicemail. The detective nodded. We haven't been able to locate her either, and most concerning, bank records show that your parents' credit cards have been in use. I froze. What did you say? Their cards, after they disappeared, exactly, and we're tracking who's using them. At that moment, an officer approached and whispered something to her. She nodded, then looked at me. They've just started the radar scan of the property. The team is checking the entire yard. I nodded, speechless. I sat on the curb with Ben, who took out his notebook and began to draw in silence. Page after page, trees, flowers, 2 people lying under the ground. I swallowed hard. The detective crouched down beside us. Did he draw that just now? He draws all the time, I replied, not wanting to go into detail. Ever since he was little. Camilla took a deep breath. Mrs. Herrera, how long has it been exactly since you last spoke to your parents? 3 months and 2 days. The day before my trip, my mom told me to take care of myself, like always, and my dad wished me luck. And your sister? Was she in frequent contact with them? Yes, always. Despite their problems, she went to the house a lot. The detective grew thoughtful, watching my reactions. Do you think Renata could be involved? I looked at her, outraged. My sister, of course not. She can be impulsive, yes, but she would never... I didn't finish the sentence. For the first time, a thought pierced me like a knife. What if my sister had something to do with all this? I needed air. I asked the detective for a moment alone. I crossed the street and sat on a bench under a tree. Ben continued to draw in silence, as if this were just any other outing. My head was spinning. The disappearance, the social media posts, the credit cards being used, and Renata. My fingers trembled as I opened my phone. I went to my mom's profile. The last post was from just over a month ago. A picture of red roses in the garden with the caption, "They bloomed early this year." But the date was well after the supposed disappearance. I went to my dad's profile. His last activity was a review of a mystery novel. Rereading the classics is a reminder that we sometimes forget the endings. The smile on his profile picture now hurt like a dagger. Finally, I opened Renata's Instagram. Her last post was from a month ago, an image with a black background and red letters. The caption read, "It's all about balance. Sometimes you have to destroy to rebuild." I swallowed hard. I went back to Detective Mendoza, who was now supervising the excavation in the backyard. "What are you expecting to find?" I asked, unable to stop myself. She looked me right in the eye. "We hope to find nothing, but we have to check everything." The large tree in the back shows signs of disturbed soil, according to the experts. They planted that tree on their wedding anniversary. She nodded silently. One of the officers approached with a tablet in his hand. "Detective, we have irregularities in the subsoil, right where the boy pointed." I felt my heart leap out of my chest. "And the credit cards, you said they were used?" "Yes," she confirmed. "Small, consistent purchases. Supermarkets, pharmacies, gas, in different parts of the city and at different times." "Are there cameras in those places?" She nodded. "We're reviewing the footage. Some is blurry, some is clear, but..." She paused. "We've already identified a face in one of them." "Who?" She showed me a black and white printout, an enlarged clipping from a security camera. Even though it was blurry, I knew instantly. It was Renata. "No, that can't be," I whispered. "The images match. She appears using the cards in more than one location. But maybe my parents gave her permission. Maybe she was helping them with something. They always supported her. The detective took a deep breath. Lucy, inside the house, we found collection notices, all in Renata's name, accumulated debts, significant ones. How significant? We estimate over $5 million. I felt dizzy. My legs gave out. That can't be. Loans from loan sharks, maxed out credit cards, casino IOUs, all accumulated in the last 2 years. The latest threats from collectors are from 3 months ago. The same day I got on the plane, she asked them for money and they said no. That's one of our hypotheses. I closed my eyes. A memory flared to life. A video call days before my trip. My mom told me, "We're very worried about your sister Lucy. Truly, she's not okay." At that moment, a shout broke the silence. "We found something!" The cry echoed down the entire block. I ran to the gate, my heart in my throat. Ben stayed where he was, still, as if he knew not to get any closer. On the other side, the forensic team was clustered around the tree. The earth was overturned, damp and dark. One of them was carefully lifting something, a thick blanket covered in mud and roots. The faded floral pattern hit me in the chest. That quilt was from my mother's room. Detective Camilla Mendoza grabbed my arm. "Lucy." Lucy, please, stay back." "No," I screamed. "If someone is buried there, I have a right to know." She didn't answer, just blocked me from getting closer. The forensic team worked in silence for several minutes. One of the technicians nodded his head. Then I heard the words I never thought I would hear. "We confirm the presence of human remains, 2 bodies, 1 male and 1 female." My legs failed me, the world spun. The only reason I didn't fall was because Camilla held me tight. The pain ripped through me. My parents, they were here this whole time. We can't confirm identities yet, but it's obviously them. That quilt was my mom's. They planted that tree on their anniversary. The tears wouldn't stop. I was shaking all over. Camilla led me to her patrol car, offered me water. Ben watched me through the window with wide, frightened eyes. "This doesn't make sense," I murmured. "Who buries 2 people in their own backyard?" "Someone who knew they would have time before anyone noticed," the detective replied, "and who was confident no one would ask questions for a few weeks, unless they lived here." Those words froze me. Camilla opened a folder and pulled out a laminated sheet. A temporary residency declaration. Name, Renata Herrera. "She filed this document 4 months ago. She claimed your parents were traveling and that she would be staying at the house indefinitely. But that's not... My parents would never have agreed to that. The form has signatures from both of them. Very likely forged. We're analyzing them. And the neighbors? Some were suspicious, but Renata told them your parents were on a cruise. She came by often, received packages, took out the trash, kept up appearances." A chill ran down my spine. I was a fool. We all were. "There's something else." The detective took out her phone. She showed me a recent photo sent by an anonymous contact. It was the front of the house at night. A woman was leaving through the gate. Even though her back was to the camera, she was unmistakable. "That's her. That's Renata." "The photo arrived last night. She was here yesterday while you were still traveling. She probably fled when she found out you were coming back." I was speechless. It was all a nightmare. Camilla handed me a case file number. "We'll begin the official identification tomorrow. The forensic exams have to confirm it. She's already escaping. We will find her. We've already alerted airports and border crossings. But Renata knows this city like the back of her hand." She looked at me directly. "Do you think she had help?" My mind flooded with memories. That weird ex-boyfriend, the shady friends, the disappearances, the emotional blackmail. Yes, she had help. But the real question was another one. Why? And what if this all started because of me? As I walked through the cold corridors of the police station, one question wouldn't leave my mind. If I hadn't gone on that trip, would my parents still be alive? Detective Camila Mendoza called me late that afternoon. The preliminary identifications confirmed what I already feared. The bodies found in the yard were Ernest and Teresa Herrera, my parents. I felt as if an invisible wall had crushed me. Everything went silent. Ben was asleep in Santiago's lap, knowing nothing, and I was about to face the only person who could give me any answers. Renata. The police had found her that morning, trying to board a bus heading out of state. She was arrested without resisting. Now she was in a holding cell, awaiting formal questioning. I asked to see her. Camila tried to talk me out of it. It's not advisable in your emotional state. She might manipulate you, Lucy. I need to look her in the eyes. I need to understand. She reluctantly agreed. They led me down a white, windowless hallway with cold lights. My heart was beating so hard I could barely breathe. When the metal door opened, there she was. Renata, her hair thrown up carelessly, her gaze empty, her skin pale. She was wearing a beige jumpsuit. She didn't look like my sister. She looked like a stranger, a shadow. I sat across from her, separated by a metal table. Neither of us spoke at first. Why? My voice came out as a weak whisper. Why did you do that to them? She let out a dry, short laugh, as if she'd forgotten how to cry. You think you know everything, Lucy. You never knew anything. They loved you, Renata. They helped you until the very end. And they always preferred you. The perfect daughter, traveling the world while I was stuck here, licking my wounds. You have no idea what it's like to beg. Begging doesn't justify murder. She looked down. She didn't cry. You have no idea what it's like to owe millions to dangerous people. I was trapped. They had money, but when I needed them most, they left me alone. They tried to help you. They saved you so many times. Renata lifted her head. Her gaze chilled my blood. And you think I planned all this? I just needed time. A few signatures. That's all. But they refused. I lost control. I swallowed. That wasn't my sister's voice. And you buried them where we used to play as kids, in the garden where Mom taught me how to plant flowers. I didn't want it to be like that, she murmured. But afterward, it became easy. I just had to post online, use the cards carefully. Everyone believed it. Everyone but me. Silence fell like a heavy ceiling. Then Camilla entered the room with an envelope in her hand. Lucy, you need to see this. She opened it and placed a sheet on the table. It was a statement from an international account. Recent transfers. Account holder, Renata Herrera. Amount, $500,000. This money was transferred 3 days ago from an offshore account. She wasn't running away. She was getting paid, Camilla said. I froze. Renata smiled. But it wasn't just any smile. It was dark, arrogant. Did you really think I was alone, little sister? Who else is behind this? I couldn't sleep that night. Renata's confession, the money, her empty gaze. It was as if the world had shattered into pieces. I stayed in my parents' living room, completely alone, surrounded by memories. The same room where, as girls, Renata and I fought over the remote control, where Dad made hot chocolate on cold days, where Mom embroidered in silence, trying to keep us together with just a look. Now, there were evidence boxes instead of cushions, yellow tape on the patio door. It all felt unreal, like someone had staged a nightmarish play. Santiago had taken Ben to a hotel. He insisted I go too, but I told him I needed to stay. And it was true. I felt like something was still here, something I had to find. At 2:37 in the morning, I got up. I crossed the hallway. The doorknob was ice cold. The silence was thick as smoke. I opened the door to my parents' room. Their scent was still there, lavender and wood. Everything was exactly as I remembered it. The blue curtains, the photos on the wall, the slippers beside the bed. I approached my mom's nightstand. It was dark, antique wood. When I was a kid, I used to hide candy in there. I opened the drawer. It was empty, but something gleamed. I ducked my head and saw it, a piece of tape stuck to the underside of the drawer, almost invisible. I carefully peeled it off. Something was hidden there. An envelope. My fingers trembled. It was a handwritten letter. I instantly recognized my mother's handwriting. Lucy, if you're reading this, it's because something happened. Something I tried to prevent until the very end. I sat on the bed. The envelope felt heavy. I opened it slowly. The tears were already there. Renata got involved with dangerous people. I don't know how deep this goes, but I'm scared. She asked us for an enormous amount of money. She said if we didn't help her, we'd all be in danger. Ernest wanted to go to the police. We argued. I hesitated. She cried. She screamed. She said it was her last chance. We told her no, and she changed. The handwriting was shaky. Every word was heavy. She started disappearing for days, coming home at strange hours. Once I found a gun in her closet. She said it was for protection. Ernest was suspicious. He made copies of everything. He saved it on a USB drive. It's hidden behind the bathroom mirror. My heart was racing. A USB drive. I kept reading. Today we heard a name. She said it on the phone. Ernest managed to record it. The name was Gabrielle Delgado. If something happens to us, Lucy, don't believe she acted alone. Delgado has something on her, or he's manipulating her. Forgive your sister, and if you can, protect us from the truth. I was paralyzed. My mom, even in her farewell letter, was trying to protect us. I ran to the bathroom, moved the mirror, and there it was, a USB drive taped behind the frame. I went back to the living room, turned on my laptop. My breathing echoed in the empty house. The flash drive had documents, bank statements, photos, and an audio file. I hit play. Delgado isn't going to accept any more delays, Renata. He's already warned me. Either the money comes through, or someone's going to disappear. You decide. It was a man's voice, and Renata replied, You tell Delgado I've already done my part. I'm not going to beg him anymore. A shiver ran through me. I opened a web browser, typed in the name, Gabriel Delgado, and then it all clicked. He had been my father's business partner over 20 years ago. They had a tax consulting firm. They were investigated for fraud. My dad was acquitted. Delgado disappeared. I found an old photo in a local newspaper. My dad and him in front of a building. Then, a small article. Ghost investor linked to illegal casinos. It didn't mention him by name, only by the nickname Delgado. He came back and used Renata for revenge. I slammed the laptop shut. I could feel my blood boiling. Then my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. You've stuck your nose where it doesn't belong, Lucy. Now bury what's left. I was frozen. I went to the window. Outside, on the empty street, a car was parked. No lights. Motionless. Sinister. Someone was watching me from the darkness. I couldn't wait for justice anymore. This was personal now. This war was now mine. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the living room floor, my gaze fixed on the dark car parked across the street. It was like looking into a black hole, something that absorbed everything, even courage. But in that freezing dawn, I understood that fear doesn't just go away. You have to face it. They weren't going to stop, so neither would I. I took my phone and sent everything to Detective Camilla. The audio of Renata, the documents from the USB drive, the bank statements, the old photo of my dad with Gabriel Delgado. She replied in less than 2 minutes. Received. Meet me at 7 a.m. We're closing this chapter today. At 7 a.m. sharp, we were at the station. The atmosphere was tense. Camilla had already contacted the on-call judge and the tactical team. We've located Delgado in a luxury apartment uptown. False name. He's hiding, but not running, as if he's waiting for something. Or someone, she told me grimly. We got into 2 unmarked cars. No one spoke. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. When we arrived, the building was silent and elegant. The doorman pretended to know nothing. We went up. They forced the door. Delgado was in a bathrobe, sitting at a perfectly set breakfast table. Cut fruit, a folded newspaper, a glass of juice. He didn't flinch. He just looked up. Ernest should have kept his mouth shut, he said with a slow smile. But he was a stubborn man. So you destroyed his life for revenge? I asked. He laughed. Revenge is emotional. I just took back what was stolen from me, and I used who was available. You manipulated my sister. Hardly. She was already broken. I just showed her the door. She was the one who walked through it. Camilla intervened. Gabriel Delgado, you are under arrest for tax fraud, money laundering, coercion, and complicity in 2 homicides. Do you have anything to say? He looked at me again. Your father ruined me back in '02. I just returned the favor, with interest. I didn't have to touch a soul. It was all emotional, elegant, even. I didn't reply, but I felt in that instant that the abyss inside me was beginning to close. At the station, Delgado was formally charged. Renata was brought in for questioning at the end of the day. Disheveled, pale, her eyes red. She was crying, but not like someone asking for forgiveness. She was crying like someone who had finally collapsed. I just wanted out of that life to pay my debts. I tried to ask for help, but nobody listened to me. Not Lucy, not Mom. Why did you kill your parents, Renata? Camilla asked. She choked on a sob. He said he would make Ben disappear, that he'd done it before. I panicked. They refused to sign, and he pressured me. He said he just needed silence. And you gave it to him, Camilla stated. She nodded, her face in her hands. She hadn't planned it. She hadn't thought. She had just given up, let herself be dragged down. Renata got a deal. She received 18 years. Delgado got 32. I legally reclaimed my parents' house. I made a few changes. I left the garden untouched. Where they found their bodies, I planted white daisies, simple but resilient flowers, capable of blooming again, even after the worst storm. Ben never went back there. I rarely do. Santiago left me a few months later. He said I had changed too much, that I was obsessed. Maybe he was right, but I had to lose everything to understand that silence doesn't protect. It only delays the pain. Today, 2 years later, I live alone in a small apartment, but it's full of life. I keep 2 things in a locked wooden box in my bottom drawer: my mother's letter and the USB drive. When I hold them, I no longer feel rage. I feel respect, for myself, for my parents, for the truth. In the end, Delgado didn't just destroy my family, he destroyed what was fragile in each of us. My sister had been hurting for years. He was just the match, and I was the last one to realize it. If someone had listened to her sooner, maybe none of this would have happened. But no one listened, not even me. Now my justice isn't seeing them behind bars, it's keeping this story alive. It's preventing another woman from suffering in silence. I don't want revenge. I want awareness. I want the next time someone says, "I'm fine," for us to stop and ask again. Now that you know my story, tell me something. Has anything like this ever happened in your family? And if it did, how would you react? Let me know in the comments. And if you made it here with me to the very end, type the phrase "buried flowers" so I'll know you were here until the last second. And don't forget to subscribe to Velvet Vendetta.